Welcome back to the All That Jazz podcast. Woo! Yeah. You guys, today, first of all, welcome. Hello. My name is Jasmine. I already said welcome. We're going to move on. So, let's address the elephant in the room. There is somebody next to me. Today we have my first ever guest on the All That Jazz podcast. Everybody, please welcome Allison. Thank you. I will insert like a crowd cheering noise.
Okay, great.
Because we don't have an audience. You guys, okay, Allison, do you want to introduce yourself?
Oh, sure. Ooh. It's kind of like job interview vibes. Like, yes. Where it's like, tell me about yourself.
Tell me about yourself. How would you be a good candidate for the All That Jazz podcast?
I mean, I hope so.
You are the ideal candidate for this podcast.
Yes, I'm Allison. I've been on the Jazmataz channel before.
Yes.
But yeah, I am 19. I'm a biochemistry major.
Give it up for STEM majors. Women in STEM.
That's fun.
Yes.
I don't know. I broke my leg.
Yes, we will get to that in a hot sec.
Yes.
I'm thinking maybe we can leave that for the fun facts.
Oh, okay, the fun facts. Okay.
Okay, so Allison and I were friends in high school.
Yes.
Allison and I, so Allison and I, we were in choir together freshman year. Mm-hmm. But I was the lowest alto, and you were the highest soprano. Which, if you're not familiar with music, I was basically like a low voice, and she was a high. We did not know each other at all, but we were in choir together. And then sophomore year, we were in history together, and Allison sat behind me, and we didn't know each other, but we knew that we had been in choir together.
Yeah.
And then we both, well, we'll just be honest, Allison helped me with all the work in history because I didn't know anything, and Allison went to public school and did know everything about history.
I did go to public school.
Yes, see, I did not go to public school, so instead of learning about, like, the American Revolution, I learned about how, like, the Earth was created in terms of history, different sides of history we learned about. So Allison helped me with that, and then the next year we were in history together again, and we, like, really got close.
Oh, yeah, because we were both also in AP Calc at that time.
Yes.
Different, like, sections, different periods,
but there was a lot that happening.
Yeah.
And the rest was history. But, yes, so Allison and I were hashtag BFFs in high school, and, but last year, I went to ASU, Allison's at U of A, so we were at different colleges, but we're still, like, very, very, very good friends. We're still just as good as friends as we were. So, Allison is home for the weekend.
Yeah, for the week.
For the week, yes. So, we are taking advantage of Allison being here to record this podcast together and hang out together. First of all, if you're watching on YouTube, welcome to the fun setup. Today we're in Allison's room. We have quite the setup going on. There's like
maybe a little behind the scenes.
Yes. Maybe I will include a photo. There's like boxes stacked on top of each other. There's like a workout bench. Allison's got her leg on. There's a lot happening. But welcome. If you're on Spotify, just try to envision chaos.
Yes.
Is what's happening. So, yeah.
This is also my room that we're in.
Yes.
But it's also, like, it was a playroom, so there's, like, a TV, but it's also, like, a workout bench. Like Jasmine said, I'm, like, there's a lot going on.
There's a lot going on, and that's okay.
But, yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Everything is just fine. So,
innovation that excites.
First of all, well, before we get to the fun facts, which I know you're all so excited for, all 18 people that listen to my podcast, according to the analytics, we have to address how we're doing. So, Allison, how are you doing? You can go for it.
How long do we have?
Just give a summary with the fun details.
Oh, okay.
A summary with sprinkles on top.
Okay, yes. Well, basically, a month ago, I broke my leg. Put it simply.
The girl is broken. She is in pieces.
Yeah, I'm done. Like,
She is done. She is done. Okay, so you were in Tucson.
Yes, I was in Tucson. Like I said, or like Jasmine said, I go to U of A, so I live off campus with a couple roommates. And I was just in my room, just having a good time. And literally, the doctor said it was just bad luck.
Of course.
Literally
because it's 2020.
Yeah, yes.
Of course.
But I dislocated my knee.
Love that.
And normally, that's not an issue, ironically enough. My brother also dislocated his knee, last year. And, we were easy peasy, lemon squeezy.
Yes.
But what happened was, and we didn't know this till afterwards, but basically, my knee dislocated.
Okay.
And when it did that, it, hit my femur and, broke off a chunk of my femur. So, a piece of my femur was just, floating around in my knee.
Who can relate? I mean, that's 2020, you guys. I mean, I'm sure they know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm sure
know when that happens.
One of the 18 is suffering through the same exact thing.
Yes.
But, yeah, so basically...
one of the 18... Yes. So basically.
But yes, so I just had surgery a couple days ago to really screw it back into place.
Incredible.
Because she was a pretty big chunk, so they, screwed it back in there. And I'm now in a full leg brace.
It's the full shebang.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
When you think about somebody breaking their leg and the full shebang, mechanic screwing contraption, that's what we've got going on.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's also, there's lots of layers of bandages at the moment, because I just had surgery a couple days ago.
Yeah.
Because it was a whole process figuring all this out.
Wow.
I've had an MRI, folks. That's kind of boring, not gonna lie.
She's been through it. She's really been through it. But we are here.
We're here now.
She is doing good. She is out of surgery.
Yes.
And we're here to... what we're going to discuss today is something, we'll get into it, but just everybody hold your horses. I don't care if you want to, if you need to, skip the fun facts. Get to what we're going to talk about because it's been long awaited. But
yes.
Are we ready? It's time for the fun facts of the day. Jasmine, hit the music. Alright, so now it's time for our fun facts of the day. And I have been trying to think of a good fun fact. Because I feel like in the last episodes, my fun facts haven't been that fun.
Really?
Yeah, my last...
fun fact.
Thank you. You're probably the only one. But last time my fun fact was a whole story. And that's not a fact, that's a story. But I had to talk about me and Joanna Gaines.
Absolutely.
But today... I think my fun fact... Oh, okay. This is a good one.
Oh.
Fun fact. Pumpkin salsa kind of slaps really hard. You have to trust me on that one. Okay, if this is also have you been watching my video?
Yeah.
But if you watch my second to last video, I tried all the
Trader Joe's.
Not all. I tried what I could consume.
Yes.
From the Trader Joe's pumpkin explosion collection that they come out with every year. And for context, I'm gluten-free and basically vegan, so my options were very, very limited. But I tried the pumpkin salsa, and I have been eating it religiously throughout the last 3 days. Oh my god, it is so good. Wow. And I hate salsa.
Yeah, I don't like salsa either. Even
I do not
pumpkin. I'm not a big pumpkin person.
No, I'm not a huge pumpkin spice person. And it's really funny, in our house, we don't make pumpkin pie. My mom makes pumpkin pie with carrots.
Oh.
That's a story for another. That can be it's a story for another. But I'm not a huge pumpkin person just in general.
Yeah.
And this salsa has my heart. And I'm not I'm the type of bitch who if there's salsa and there's, like, chips and there's nothing else to eat, and you're like, well, I'm, like, hungry, so, like, I guess so. I'll take the chip and I'll just, like, dip it in the salsa, so it's just kind of, like, soggy with, like, tomato juice, and you're like, oh, this sucks, but you eat it anyways. Like, that's my stance on the salsa. Mm-hmm. But this stuff, I am, like, scooping.
Interesting.
It's wild.
Maybe I'll have to give it a try.
It's wild. So, if you want to give it a try, you should, how should I give it a try? So, Allison, I'm handing the microphone to you.
Wow.
Yes.
Well, I feel like my whole leg situation, like, that's a pretty good fun fact.
That's a pretty good fun fact. What is a fun fact maybe that you've learned, like, fun fact, like, did you know type of thing? Like, maybe about, like, your surgery process, or...
Interesting. Well, I mean, I think I told you this, but when I went in, let's just say there aren't a lot of young people being you know, or having surgery at the moment, for sure.
You know, these, like, unprecedented times. Yes. The world, you know, the state the world's in right now.
Yes. And so... you know, the nurses that I had, like, they were great. Nurses, 10 out of 10 people, so friendly, very nice, props to nurses.
Yes.
But, you know, they were getting me all, like, ready. They had to go get me, like, the child-sized blood pressure cuff. Because I have such, like, noodle arms.
Of course. No. Allison has been grinding, and Girlie's got, like, biceps.
No. Well,
you heard it from me.
No.
Yes.
But, so they, like, you know, they got me all situated, did the whatevers. And then they, like, came back, like, a couple minutes later, and they were like, Hi. So, we kind of need you to have a pregnancy test.
Oh, yes.
And I was like...
Excuse me?
Okay, like, what? And they're like, yeah, we kind of forgot because you're young, and that's usually not the case.
Yes.
And this medication we're gonna give you is, like, not good for fetuses.
Yes.
And I was like, homies, there's, like, a 0% chance that I'm pregnant.
Yeah.
But you're not allowed to, like, eat or drink anything before surgery.
Oh, so you couldn't pee.
So I couldn't pee. So for, like, 30 minutes, they were, like, pumping me full of fluids.
Like, you weren't drinking?
No, I couldn't, like, drink or anything. But they, like, have an IV. Like, they got the IV all set up.
They, like, forced water into your bladder?
Yes. They, like, forced, like, fluids into me so that I could pee for this pregnancy test.
I don't like that. Okay, so...
And then sorry, quick continuation.
Keep
Fun fact into this story.
Fun fact.
But, yeah, so, like, afterwards, like, the nurses that I had, again, were great, but they were also, like, at a different surgery center than they were, like, normally stationed at or whatever.
So they, like, didn't know the ropes.
And so there was, like, different kinds of pregnancy tests. So for, like... 5 minutes after I, you know, like, I had set the jar on the counter.
Oh, God.
And for the next 5 minutes, it was just, Gary, how do you do this? Like, I used the one with the drops, and I dipped it in, and there's, like, no results.
And they're just sitting there with a cup of your pee, and you're like...
Yes, and they're like, I'm just not getting anything. And it was like that
Maybe it's because I'm not pregnant.
Yes, but, you know, it was, like, 1 lines if you weren't, and then 2 lines if you weren't. But, like, I had that moment of, like, you know, when you're walking through airport security, you're like, what if I just accidentally had a bomb in my bag?
Yes.
You know, there's, like, no chance.
Yep.
It was, like, that kind of thing when they, like, weren't getting the results. Yeah. I was like, what if I am pregnant?
What if I am pregnant? I know, okay.
Like, Jane the Virgin situation, you know?
Yeah, that is my worst fear.
Yeah.
Like, for some reason... I have, like, even before I watched Jane the Virgin, I genuinely had a fear for a long time that I was going to somehow be pregnant and still be very at virgin level, all right? And nobody believed me.
Oh.
Like, that is my worst fear, is, like, doctors or, like, my parents or anybody not believing me, because it's like...
Come on,
like, you're obviously lying. But can you imagine, like, wait, so we both took pregnancy tests this year.
Yes, we did.
Look at us. I know, I had an endoscopy done a couple weeks ago, and I had to take a pregnancy test for that. And then I had, I got put on this medication that's a whole nother story. Basically, I had to obviously not be pregnant to take it. So I've taken 2 pregnancy tests this year.
Yeah.
And I've had an ultrasound. And yet, I've never, ever seen a boy naked. So, doing good. Yeah. You know, I have a one-up on everyone. I'm kind of, like, experienced. Like,
wow.
Come to me
low-key?
come to me for, like, pregnancy test, like, advice.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. So, well, that was a wonderful fun fact.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Give it up for Allison's fun fact. I don't know why we're clapping. I feel like...
I love a good snaps, you know, nice snaps.
A good snap.
Nice clap.
You want to talk about snaps? Okay, so I was a dance major, as we all know, at ASU. And so, like, people my age, well, just, like, professors and, like, people, like, in the arts, like, snaps is, like, a big thing.
Oh.
Like, snaps is, like, yes. Like, somebody could be, like, dancing, and if they're, like, in the middle of their dance, like, if they were dancing, it was like, yes. Like, yes. Like, we love that. My friend Jules, big snapper.
Oh,
okay. Big snapper.
Okay.
And when Jules is probably listening to this, she's going to be like, excuse me? Actually, I have a different fun fact. Speaking of Jules. So, I would be, like, dancing or something or, like, performing, and all of a sudden you just hear Jules just like, yes! And she'd be, like, snapping and, like, grunting, and it was,
the grunting is new.
It was, like, very encouraging. So maybe if you're sharing something today, I'm gonna go, yes! Yes.
Right, I think that would just make me, like, laugh.
Yeah.
You know, like, in the middle of a dance, you know.
You guys, instead of clapping, let's switch to grunting. Let's change it.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's switch this baby right around.
Yeah.
I think that's what we should do. Okay, so my different fun fact.
Yeah, so many fun facts.
This is kind of an announcement.
Oh.
Kind of like just for Allison because nobody else cares what Allison covers. Fun fact. I'm going to New York.
Fun! Did you figure...
next week.
Really? Next week?
Yeah.
Wow. That's exciting. What's the situation?
Freaking out. So basically...
In a good way, I hope.
I was stress eating a muffin this morning because I was trying to figure out if I should... I'm like, do I take the 6:30 flight? Do I take the 8 a.m. flight? I was like, okay, so that's going to mean that I have to wake up at this time. And I'm like, what situation am I going to be less anxious in? Oh my God. Like, I was freaking out. So basically, Jules, my friend from ASU, lives in New York. And when, you know, the pandemic happened... it was right after spring break, and so Jules had left for spring break, and during spring break, we were told that we weren't going back to classes. We weren't going back to in-person classes, so Jules had only brought what she needed for spring break, and her dorm was just, like, sitting there. So when time kept going by, let alone now it's May, and I'm like, well, I'll go, you know, I'll take down your dorm for you. And so I've had all of her dorm stuff sitting in our storage unit that we have. It hasn't been sitting in my house. I shipped all of her clothes to her, but I still have, like, most of her stuff that she's had since, like, March, like, all of her stuff. Yeah. And so we've been like, well, like, she kind of needs her stuff. Like, I have all of her winter clothes. Oh. And it's, like, getting colder, and she's, like, kind of important. Yeah. I know. And so, we realized it was gonna be cheaper for me to fly, like, for her to pay for extra bags on a flight than it was gonna be to ship everything out.
Oh, okay.
And we have, like, airline, like, points and stuff. Yeah. And I'm gonna stay at her house, and I was like, am I gonna, like, go to New York? Like, I have never been to New York, and New York is, like, my life's dream. Yeah. Like, just to go to New York. Anyways,
got everything.
We can talk about this more next week. It'll be incredible. But that's kind of my fun fact. Also, I'm worried I'm, like, jinxing it, that I'm like putting it out there in the world, and, like, now it's, like, not gonna happen.
Oh, have you, like, got your flight and everything already?
Yeah, I booked it this morning. But still, like, I'm super superstitious about that.
Oh,
that's all. Like, we can. I'm working on it with my therapist. But
Yes, not to put you on the spot, but
yes.
Speaking of flights,
that is what's happening. Yes, that is very much what is happening.
Yes, that was the whole...
Okay, so fun facts equal over. We're done. And all right, so welcome if you skipped past the fun facts, which I'm sure all 18 did. So today, Allison and I are going to be sharing with you quite the story from, let's set the tone here.
Okay.
Well, actually, let me just give a brief. So basically, we're telling the story of a flight that Allison and I were on last year. Mm-hmm. But there's quite a build up to the flight, and there's like this podcast
that happened on
I don't care if this podcast is over an hour long. Like, we are going to tell the full story. Mm-hmm. So this happened last year, July.
July.
No,
end
August.
Of July. Because I remember,
it was like August.
Like
second, like beginning of August,
right beginning of August.
Last year.
Mm-hmm.
Allison was coming with me. Mm-hmm. My grandma lives in Wisconsin, and she lives in a cottage, and there's a lake and everything, and I go every year. And last year, before Allison went to college, I was like, do you want to come with me? Because we knew, like, it was just like, oh my god, like, BFFs. Like, so Allison, my mom was already there. My mom was already in Wisconsin. And so it was just going to be me and Allison on our own flying out. Mm-hmm. Now, I had only flown by myself, or when I say by myself, I mean without my parents, one other time, which is documented on the internet. And you had only flown alone.
I don't think I had ever flown, like, alone.
Like, without your parents.
Family. But I had, like... my family does, we go on, like, summer vacations every year. So I feel like I had a pretty good... Like, I wasn't too nervous about going on a... We were pretty confident.
I would definitely say we were, like, airport... Like, there was no, like, what do we do at the airport? Like, we are airport pros, like, plane... Like, we know how everything...
But, yes, first time flying alone.
Technically
without the family.
I mean, we were 18. Like, it's... Yeah. So, okay. So, let's set the tone. For me, the story starts the night before. I don't know about you.
Mine, morning of.
Okay. So, my turn. So, basically, the day before this flight, we were going to leave really early in the morning. We had to get up kind of early. Mm-hmm. And...
Because our flight was at, like, 8 o'clock, which isn't too bad at first.
But you gotta get there at, like, 7...
6, and so you gotta wake up
early.
Like 5,
and it's, like, the airport's, like, half an hour away. Yeah, it's, like, the whole crazy. So we had to wake up kind of early. And I had a lot of stuff going on the day before. I had, like, dance classes, and, like, I was busy the whole day. So I didn't get to, like, really finish packing until pretty late at night. The day before. And the later I stay up, kind of the more anxious and delirious I get. So all of a sudden, it was like midnight, and I start to feel myself, like, having a panic attack, okay? And so I, like, just went downstairs. I did all the things that I needed to do. Like, having panic attacks is very common for me. Like, this wasn't like, oh my god, first panic attack. Like,
yes.
But... So I didn't really get to bed until, like, 1 in the morning, which might be normal for some people, but for me, like, Jasmine needs 8 hours of sleep to be able to avoid panic attacks, anxiety, things like that, and especially with traveling the next day. And I wouldn't... When it comes to anxiety and flying and panic attacks, it's not like the thought of being, like, the plane doesn't give me anxiety, or being up high or in the airport. That's not what gives me anxiety, but for some reason, just the environment of the plane makes me more susceptible to feeling anxious. That didn't really make sense.
You're not necessarily, like, scared of flying.
I'm not scared of the act of flying, but sometimes being there in the plane, you're just kind of there with your thought. We'll get into it. Yeah. So I didn't get a lot of sleep the night before. Mm-hmm. Not very good. And I had a panic attack the night before, so we're not going to get into all my health issues, but basically I was a little bit delirious in the morning, more tired than I should be, kind of very out of it. There were tears just because I was just like, what is going on? But my parents went, it was just me and my sister at home. My sister was like, I got you. I, like, made my breakfast. We get in the car to go pick up Allison.
Yes.
So, Allison lives, like, 2 minutes away. We pick up Allison, and we start, and it's what? 5:36?
5:36, yeah.
Yeah, in the morning. So, pick up Allison, and Allison, what happens when we're driving to the airport?
Okay.
So we haven't even got to the airport yet.
No. So basically, a quick preface. The week before this, I had
So this starts a week before.
Wow, we have quite the issues.
This is going to take a long time. Okay, it's okay.
Plus, we had our whole thing in the beginning. It's okay.
Okay.
We're here.
We're here.
But the week before, I had my wisdom teeth removed. Yes. So nothing like crazy happened with that. I had like a couple days before we left, I had like my follow-up appointment, and they were like, "It's looking good. Like you're good to go. Like thumbs up." And then you get like this syringe where you have to like flush food out because there's still like little divots in your mouth.
Like what?
Where food gets stuck.
Ew.
So you have this little like water pick syringe situation.
Fun.
Every time you eat, you gotta really just squirt it back. And I was
Yummy.
like, yeah.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay. So for me, the morning of, I had everything packed normally, except for like bathroom things, because I still have to like wash my face,
do all the things.
Yes, brush my teeth, blah 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 blah. And so I wake up in the morning and I'm like, okay, trying to get everything together. I had previously traveling, I have forgotten like my ID and stuff like that. So I was like, okay, let's just make sure we have
like the essentials.
Yes, like the wallet. I was really worried about that. So I was like, okay, got that. That we're good. And so we get in the car because Lotus and Jasmine picked me up from my house. And Lotus also goes to U of A. And
Lotus is my sister.
Yes.
I'm sure we've established this.
Yes.
Yeah.
But she goes to U of A, so I'm about to be a freshman at U of A, and so we're driving down the road, and she's telling me all about U of A. I forget exactly what specifically we were talking about.
Yeah.
But I oftentimes in the car I'll just double check, make sure I still have things.
Yeah.
I'm a big double checker.
Yes.
And then I'm like looking in my bag, and I'm like, uh-oh. I don't think I have one of my like bathroom Ziploc bags because I put things in Ziploc bags so they don't leak. And lo and behold, I have forgotten my contacts, which I need because I wear glasses on planes because like I was planning on sleeping.
Yeah.
Because your girl was also tired.
Yeah.
Not a morning person.
No.
But I forgot my contacts, which I need for the lake because we're gonna be going swimming.
It's just like an essential.
Yeah,
you need your contacts.
I need to see.
Yes.
And then my water syringe thing for my teeth to get the food out of my teeth after having wisdom teeth surgery. So as we are getting onto the highway, I'm like, Lotus, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, I like look behind me and Allison's like. Her eyes are, like, watering, and I'm like, oh, no.
Yes.
Oh, no.
Because I felt so bad. Because I was like,
oh, no.
Grace.
If I would have been in your position, I would have been the same. I would have been like, oh, my God, like, do I tell them to, like, stop the car? Like,
yeah,
oh, my God, do I just, like, go on the
like,
with my contacts?
Can I go on?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Can we find, like, something in this little, like, Wisconsin town? I don't know. But I was like... I need my contacts and my stuff. So, I am like start to cry, and I'm not a big crier.
Very appropriate occasion to cry. High stress.
Yes.
We were like, are we gonna make if we stop, if we go back, like are we gonna make our flight on time? Like we are crunched for time. So we pull off into the IKEA parking lot.
Was it IKEA? I thought it was like at the hotel.
With the hotel, we were near an IKEA.
Yeah, near an IKEA.
So we pull off the highway.
I called my mom because my mom, we said, it was 5:30 or 6, so it was like kind of early.
Yeah.
But my mom like woke up to say like goodbye and stuff, and so I called my mom, and I'm like, Mom, I forgot my contacts. Can you see if they're there in the bathroom?
And lo and behold,
she's like, yes, they're here. And I was like, can you bring them to me? Okay, so I'm crying, and my mom's on her way.
Yes, and I am eating breakfast in the car, and I'm, like, internally kind of a mess because I was, like, recovering from a panic attack from the night before. But I'm, like...
Not externally.
Not externally, no. So I was just, like... Because I was trying to... I was, like, I'm about to go on a plane, like, by myself. Like, Jasmine, like, pull it together. You know what I mean? And so I'm sitting there eating my breakfast in the car, and I'm, like, Allison is crying, and Allison doesn't cry.
I'm not a big cry. Like, I'm the emotionally, like, consistent one.
I cry a lot.
Yes.
So I knew that this, like, she was in distress. So I was like, how am I going to cheer Allison up? So I kid you not, I put down my breakfast, and I said, Allison, wipe those tears away. And I want you to watch what is about to happen. And I plug in my phone to the car, and I blast the best song to exist. Everyone, I want you to look up Life is a Highway by the Rascal Flatts remix. This shit is incredible.
I remember it being the remix.
Oh, it is the remix. Okay, the bass is bumping. Okay. It is so good. So I get out of the car, and I'm, like, twerking in the parking lot of this hotel to the Life is a Highway remix on YouTube.
To make me feel
To make
better.
Allison feel better. And I should not have done that. Because I was very tired, and all this... I had a limited amount of energy, both mentally and physically, mainly physically, to use throughout our travel day. And I cashed it all in the parking lot of that hotel by putting on an incredible performance of ass shaking in the parking lot. It was incredible.
Yeah.
It was.
I very much appreciated it.
I will not lie. I kind of went off.
Yes.
But I also went off, and then I was off.
Yes.
So your mom comes.
Yes. Mom comes, dropped off the contacts in the syringe situation.
Yes.
We're good to go.
And we're like,
you
know, it was a rough start to the morning, but it'll be good.
Yes. So
we get to the airport. Everything is fine.
Not too late in the plan.
No, we made it there. It was like, it didn't set us back too far.
No.
Like, we have time to go to Starbucks. We have time to go to the bathroom. Like, we had plenty of time.
Security, no problem.
No problem. So we go to... Did we go to... Yeah, we went to Starbucks. We, waited in the line at Starbucks. Yeah. We're sitting at our gate.
Well, because we had looked at our gate on our phone to see, where to go. And so... Yes. We went to Starbucks, went to the bathroom, and now we're sitting...
We're sitting at the gate, and we're waiting, and... Allison and I are very, planning people. Like, we are... So... We could have left for the airport maybe even an hour later and still made it there on time. Yes. We were there very early. Yes. And so we're sitting there kind of for a while. And finally we're like, okay, they should be, boarding now. Now is kind of time. There was nobody, saying that it was time. There weren't people lining up around us. And we're like, what? And so I was like, well, let's go. It was time to board. It was time to board. And... We had a pretty early boarding group, too. So
we were, in the middle.
Yeah, so we had to be on top of it. So I'm like, well, let's go double check. Well, no, actually, I turned around and I looked at, where we were, and all of a sudden the sign, on the check-in counter did not say Wisconsin. No. It said, Texas or something. Yeah. And I was like, what? So I'm like, let's go check the board. Mm-hmm. And lo and behold, they had switched the gate. And it was in, a different terminal. Mm-hmm. And we were supposed to be boarding.
It said now boarding. On the thing. Yeah. On the board.
And keep in mind, we had been sitting there at the gate. We're like, oh, we have so much time. I sat there, I took all my anxiety medication. We were breathing. Mm-hmm. Wow, remember this morning. And so now we're like, oh, shit, we have to go. Yeah. So Alice and I are now, both try. We're both freaking out, but we're it's fine. Yeah. It's fine. No, breathe. It'll be okay.
Yeah, we're speed walking, jogging, running
on the moving sidewalk.
Yes, because we have to get to a different terminal. So not even just a different gate, but we gotta book it to the opposite side.
Go. Yeah. So we're oh my god, of course, this morning, it's been just crazy. You know what I mean? And we were freaking out because, again, we are both, very, we have to be there on time, people. So maybe for the average teenager, this would have been no big deal, but we were kind of freaking out. So this just adds a little bit to the stress response in the body.
Yes.
All right.
And we had also, there's no like pre-assigned seats. Like it was just.
We were taking Southwest.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it was just like, you know, you show up, you sit down in the seat, whatever,
yeah.
blah, blah, blah. So we had a whole, like, we were like, okay, so who should be in like middle aisle? Because we needed to sit next to each other.
Yes.
So that, I remember that being my big concern.
Very stressful because it was like we weren't going to not sit next to each other. It was like we have to because like we have to. And it was like, okay, so we had different boarding groups. It was complicated. But basically we get there like when our boarding group was going. So thank God we were like, oh, just our luck. You know, things are going bad, but then they're working out.
Yes.
Look at that. What a beautiful day. For sure. So we get on the plane. We're sitting in our seats. Everything is great. Everything is going very smoothly. The flight takes off.
We got the last seats together, too.
Yes.
They're, like, in the very back of the plane. Like, second
the very
to back.
Second to last row, which I was a little like, because turbulence.
Yeah.
But we were like, you know, we're together. Everything's fine. And then the, like, tiredness kicks in. Like, the sleep deprivation starts to kick in.
Like 5 hours of sleep.
I hadn't gotten much. Yeah, not enough just for anybody. I didn't get a lot of sleep. Plus, I had a panic attack the night before. Which, just for context, like the average person might have a panic attack and then be tired and like move on. But for me, like, if I have a panic attack, usually it takes me like 3 or 4 days to like fully recover. I have a little bit different situation with my body. I have some health issues. Well, whatever. But just know, like, this is not like a normal like recovering from a panic attack situation. This is like my muscles are super weak, really tired, mentally really out of it. Like there's a lot happening. So all this is starting to really kick in. Flight takes off. We're both like, well, let's just try to like sleep, relax. We both like pop in our AirPods and we're just like, let's fall asleep. You know, just like, let's just like, whatever. So we're sitting there. I can't really. Did you fall asleep?
I was a little out of it.
Okay.
Like I wasn't like fully asleep, but I was getting there.
You were.
I was on the window and you were in.
I was in the middle.
And so I was like, I had you like. I was like, do you need a pillow or whatever? Yeah. But I was like on doing pretty good.
Yeah.
So I was like, I was almost.
I was kind of the same. I was like in and out. I mean, you're on a plane, so you don't really sleep. So basically, I'm going like in and out of like kind of sleeping, and I want to say maybe, I don't know, like half an hour, 45 minutes goes by into the flight, and I kind of wake up, and I can't take naps because I don't be concerned. This all is about to get very concerning. Yes. And I don't want you to be concerned with me. This is a normal thing that happens to me. Maybe it's something that happens to you. Maybe we can #relate to each other. But if I wake up from a nap or something, think about it like when you have a fever dream. Like when you have a fever dream and you're like kind of awake, kind of not, but you're like really delirious and like you're kind of in like another reality. Yeah. There's a lot happening. So when I take a nap, I have like, even if I don't have a fever, I kind of have like fever dreams, and I wake up and I can still feel like I'm kind of not in the dream. I'm not hallucinating. I'm not hearing voices, nothing like that. But I'm just kind of in like an altered state of reality. I don't take drugs. I don't smoke. There was no substance. Like, this is my brain. Again, my body just works a little differently. Yes, so basically,
a natural high. Yeah.
So, wow. So basically, I kind of wake up, and I wasn't like super. I call it being loopy. In my family, it's like, oh, Jasmine's a little loopy. So I wake up and I'm like feeling a little loopy. And I know myself, and I know that I've got to, like, wake myself up. Like, if I'm at home and this happens, all the lights go on. Peppermint oil. Like, we got to wake up. And so I'm like, but I'm on a plane. So I knew what I had to do is I needed to stand up and, like, go to the bathroom. Just, like, walk around, like, going in the bathroom, like, turn the lights on in the bathroom, like, the loud noise of the flush. Like, I knew that it would, like, fully wake me up, okay? So I get out of my seat. Allison is like still not really aware.
Yeah,
I mean, maybe you'd sense that I had gotten up, but
yeah, but I was like I said, I was like kind of asleep, like a little bit. So
okay, so this is where the story. Now that we're 40 minutes into the podcast, this is where the story takes off. No pun intended. So I am walking to the bathroom, and I am like, Jasmine, you need to get back on Earth here, honey. I was just like, I'm on a plane, but I'm in a dream. Like, I still felt like I was in my dream. Again, not hallucinating, not hearing voices, nothing crazy, like, nothing, like, psychotic, okay? But I am just not really here. I'm, like, still in my dream. And I get to the bathroom door. And I can't bring myself to open this bathroom door. Like, I am just standing in front of the back of the plane's bathroom door, and I'm just, like, trying to wake myself up. I was having some of these issues that I get, like, with my muscles and my stomach, and I was just like, Jasmine, like, pull it together, like, whew. And then I was just like, I can't do it. And I must have been standing there for quite some time, literally just face to face with, like, the airplane bathroom door. There's nobody in the bathroom. I can just walk right in, but I'm just like, I was taking a lot of deep breaths, and all of a sudden I hear this lady behind me, and she's just like, Miss, like, are you okay? And I turn around, and it's the flight attendant who, should we say her name? We learned all their names.
I think we need to.
Yeah, okay, so time to introduce Belinda. All right, so Belinda was a flight attendant. What an icon. So Belinda, short, like, it's not like grandma status.
Yes.
Like, she could have easily been, like, grandma age.
Yeah.
Like, had, like, big, like, loving grandma vibes.
Oh, yeah. Like, the grandma haircut that was, like, not...
Like, gray hair, southern.
Yes.
Yeah, and she's like, Miss, like, are you okay? And I turn around, and I see that it's a flight attendant, and I'm like, I literally just, the tears just fall out of my eyes, and I'm like, no. And this lady is... I remember, like, I'm like 5'9", and this lady's, like, maybe up to my boobs, all right? And she's like, oh, honey, come here. And she just gives me this big hug, and now Jasmine was, like, already, like, really low, and now we've completely crashed.
Yes.
I am so loopy. I am so tired. I am so anxious. I am, like, crying into this woman's arms, and I'm like, oh, my God, what is going on? And so... all of a sudden, I start, like, having a panic attack, all right? And so panic attacks look different for everybody. Trigger warning, I'm about to talk about panic attacks. But, so for me, there was a lot happening. She was like, you know, what do you need? And I was like, I knew I needed sugar, because obviously when you eat sugar, your blood sugar spikes and you can feel like hyper and whatever, and that would wake me up. And so in the past at home, usually I'll drink juice or something. And so I was like, I need sugar. And so I'm standing up in the back of the plane. Allison is still asleep.
Yeah, I know none of this is happening.
I am like pretty violently crying. All right. There's some heavy heaving happening. All right, I am violently crying in the back, and I'm standing, and there was like this pop-up tray table that was in the back. I'm like where like the drinks, where they do the drinks, and there's like the bathroom and stuff. I'm standing back there. I'm like holding on for dear life to this tray table because the plane is moving, and I'm like, I've got to pee. Well, I didn't really have to. I'm like, I'm so out of it. And now all of a sudden I'm like in the back of the plane talking to the flight attendants, which is already not really a normal situation, which didn't add to my already feeling like I wasn't in a normal situation. Oh my God, it was woo! So this lady hands me a glass of apple juice, bless her heart, Belinda, and I'm trying to drink it. And sometimes when you're anxious, at least for me, something like your throat can get really, not close up, but be really tight. So I was having a hard time, like, even, like, swallowing this juice. I'm like, Jasmine, like, you gotta get this down. Like, you gotta spike your blood sugar, all right? Like, I'm like, you gotta just do it. And I'm having a hard time drinking it. And, again, my muscles are doing this weird thing, which I'm not gonna go into because it's just complicated and personal. But that was kind of the main thing that was happening. And I'm, like, freaking out, and I'm, like, really crying for, like, a while. And now another flight attendant gets involved because it's like, all right, there's obviously a traumatic situation happening in the back, all right? And I'm like hyperventilating, and I'm like, I was just like, this can't be real. I'm in like, and this is a nightmare. Like, oh my God, like what is happening? And they're like, do we call like a doctor? Which is like something nobody ever wants to hear. But now it really feels like I'm actually in a dream because this never happens. And I'm like, oh my God, like that. Doctors like scare me. I'm like, oh my God, no, don't call. Like they were like, do we land the plane? Like I was like really in distress. There was a lot happening. I'm like shaking, and so like 10 minutes or so goes by, and I'm like still really panicking. And they're like, are you flying with anybody? And I'm like, yes. Like my angel of a friend is on this flight, and I told them the row, and they go back.
Yeah, so I don't know if they like missed me or whatever, but I had my AirPods in, and I was also I was kind of out of it.
Yeah.
So I didn't notice that anything was really happening.
But there were like the people in the back row were kind of
starting to
go like, what's going on back there? Like, is somebody giving birth? What is going on?
Mm-hmm. But the thing that like kind of got me is I see just a flight attendant just like go down the aisle, and I think she missed me because she's just like frantically looking, like back and forth, like looking, and she goes down the plane. And
they are trying to avoid like landing the plane for medical attention, and I'm like, you don't need to land the plane. I promise I will be fine. Yeah.
Yes, and so she comes back up, and I like make eye contact with her because now I took out my AirPods and I was like, oh, I can hear Jasmine's not here, but 2 and 2 together, I was like
okay,
maybe something's up. And so I'm like make eye contact, and she's like, are you Allison? And I'm like, yes. And she's like, your friend is having a panic attack in the back of the plane.
Yes.
And I was like, okay.
Allison was like very so I'm sitting there, I'm like shaking, and I'm like and I'm like dying in the back, lots of tears, and Allison just comes around the corner and she goes, hi. And I'm like, hi.
Yeah, because you are not doing good. Like, at all.
No. Like, not doing hot. It was like, definitely...
at this point, I think you also had the oxygen. Do we want to bring that up?
Had that already happened?
Maybe. Because I don't remember...
Okay, we're going to have to backtrack a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, so... It's kind of the main point of the story.
Yeah.
I like missed the main point of the story. Okay, so at one point when they're standing back there, they're like contemplating like calling a doctor, finding a doctor on the plane, and I was just like, I've dealt with anxiety and panic attacks for a majority of my life, so I kind of knew how to handle it. I knew I just had to like let it out, knew it just had to happen. I knew for a fact that I didn't need medical attention. I did not need to land the plane. Like I knew that it was gonna pass and everything would be okay. It just needed to kind of do its thing. So I convinced them no, and they're like, well, we have to do something.
Actually, I think I was there, not gonna lie.
Okay. So they're like, we have to do like something, and all of a sudden, Belinda, she was like, you're starting to look a little pale, which is not something you should say to somebody who's having a panic attack and is already concerned about how their body is functioning, because my body was shutting down, my hands were cramping up, like it was just not good. It's like, you're looking a little pale. I'm like, oh fuck, like, oh my God, like am I gonna like pass out for the first time like on the plane, like, oh my God. Meanwhile, my mom is like in Wisconsin, like driving to the airport, like, oh my God, gonna go pick up the girls. Meanwhile, we're like like in the back of the plane. So they're like, you need some, we don't want you to pass out, so we're gonna have to give you some oxygen. Yeah. And I was like, what? I was like, oxygen? Like,
and this
I don't
is
need
like
it.
bad. Yeah,
I'm like,
not a good thing.
I don't need it. Like, I'm okay, because I didn't want to feel any more claustrophobic. Like, basically, I didn't want to convince them or convince myself that I needed, like, serious medical attention, because I knew that wasn't the case, and I didn't want them to freak out. I didn't want to freak out more. But lo and behold, they just whip out this oxygen tank, and they're like, you're just gonna hold this up to your face. And I was like, oh my God, like, it's what you see in those pamphlets on the back of the plane of like the oxygen that come down through the. I'm like, oh my God, like there it is, like that's what it looks like. Oh my God, she's like handing it to me. Oh my God. And I don't know why. Maybe for other people this would have been like, oh thank God, like oxygen. But for some reason it was freaking me out, because I just like, when I am anxious, I don't want things around me, because I'm always, or let alone like things around my mouth. It's just, again, it's a little personal why, but I'm not gonna go. But I was just,
Yeah. And you're already in the back of the plane, like in these little...
For some reason, just the thought of something, like, covering my mouth, like, in that moment just didn't feel so hot. But I put that thing on my mouth. And it was incredible. I was like, this is wonderful. I was like, I literally was, like, dizzy and, like, lightheaded, like, obviously. And I literally put that on, and everything just kind of, like, you know the, like, Claritin commercials? Where there's, like, a filter on the commercial. It's all, like, gray and stuff. And then the person takes Claritin, and it, like, wipes away. Yeah. And then it's, like, super colorful, saturated and blue. I was literally, like, ah! And it was just, like, not that I stopped panicking, but I was just, like, this, I'm, like my headache's going on. Like, I'm not, I was really dizzy, and it was whatever. And I was, like, this is great. So I was, like, and, like, chugging apple juice. And I'm, like, chugging apple juice. And so this goes on for...
Oh, quite a while.
Quite some time, but I was just
like standing there like...
Allison is being...
Good job!
Allison is being the bestest friend that you could ever possibly have. Allison is just, like...
I'm trying my best.
Like, literally, like, Allison is just, like... because... I just needed something to distract me. Allison was just talking about random shit and just, like, distracting me and have another sip of this, and she wasn't freaking out, and I was like, oh my god, this is your first time flying alone, and this is what's happening, and it was just like, what is the day that we're having? Like, oh my god, and I was just like, what is, because I had never experienced that on a plane. First of all, just, like, having a really, I mean, I had panic attacks on a plane before, but nothing like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my god, like, I am alone, and I didn't want to make it worse, and they were gonna call somebody. Like, that was just, I did not want them to call somebody.
I remember them, like, do we need to land the plane?
Yeah, and I was like, no.
And that was like, I was like, oh,
But they were also, like, didn't really want to listen to me, because I'm like, it was like, could I make decisions for myself? Like, yes, but did they don't know that? No. So... Then, where I'm, like, freaking out, and I'm like, I really need to, like, sit down, because sometimes to help the muscles, I need to lean back against something, so they, like, whip down the, like, flight attendant, like, seat back there, and so Allison and I are just sitting back there. I've got the oxygen tank in between my legs, I'm sitting here, I'm, like, you know, taking shots of ginger ale and apple juice, and basically anything with a sugar content that should be illegal. Yeah. You know what I mean? We're just sitting, and Allison's just, like, we're just, like, hanging out.
Yeah.
We're talking to the flight attendant.
We've been homies with the flight attendants.
They're asking us about, like, our college plans, what we're gonna do. Al, you know, you are such a wonderful friend. Like, we're just having, because I was just like, I need you, like, don't talk about me and what's happening, just, like, distract me. You know what I mean? And so I slowly start to, like, I'm like, okay, like, Jasmine, like, I start to, like, wake up, because the sugar is kicking in, we're doing great. Yes. I'm starting to calm down a little bit. You know, just from the oxygen and just it kind of passing, and again the sugar, and talking to the flight attendant, so I'm distracted, and then all of a sudden I've realized that I've had like 3, 4, 5 glasses of liquid. Like, both water, I was like, water, apple juice, oxygen. It was just this, and I'm like, I really have to pee. Yes. Really have to pee. And so, but now I'm like addicted to this oxygen. I'm like, this is dangerous. Yeah, And so I'm like, well, the guy was like, you can't take the oxygen, like, into the bathroom, because, like, no. And so I take it away, and literally right as I take it away, I'm, like, dizzy again. And then I put it back, and I'm not dizzy. And I'm like, I really gotta pee. And so I'm like, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I just take it off. It was like holding my breath underwater. I just take it off. Oh my god. So much liquid came out of my bladder. Like, I have never peed that much in my life. Like, it was so incredible. I literally peed, and while I was peeing, it was like everything was just being released. And so with this whole muscle thing that happens, the only way it goes away is if I burp, which sounds weird. Again, not going to get into it. But I'm sitting there, I'm like peeing out fucking Niagara Falls. I am burping up a storm, and I'm like,
all the bodily functions.
This is just so great. And I come out of the bathroom, and I was just like, I'm back, bitches. Yeah. It was I was just like, everything was good. But I was like, give me the oxygen. Like, I need the oxygen again. And so we sit there, and they were like, do you guys want to just, like, hang out back here? And I was like,
Sure.
Yeah. So we kind of just had like a cocktail party in the back of the plane with so many liquids. Yeah. And we took the iconic pictures. Yes. I was like, we have to document this. We have to document this. We were taking pictures. We're just talking. Again, my body, right now, I'm like out of it, but I'm like, haha, like life is so good. Yeah. You know, like my body was so tired from the panic attack. Yes. For the wildest panic attack I had on the plane. Like we were very tired. I was almost just like, all right. Like, it was just like, woo.
And at this time, too, like, during, I don't know exactly when during this whole situation. I think it was when we needed to sit down with the oxygen. The cord, like, stretched over the aisle. Because there's a front... Yeah. So there's a front bathroom and a back bathroom on the plane.
Oh, they had blocked off the back bathroom.
And so they, like, sometime when this was happening, they made an announcement. One of the homies of the flight attendant, like we said, like, really became best friends with these guys.
Really best friends.
And so one of them made an announcement and was like, hello, the back is closed. If you need to go to the bathroom, please use the front bathroom. Like,
we had the whole place to ourselves back there. Yeah. Like, it was really a party. Like, at one point, all 3 flight attendants on the flight were back there. We were all having a conversation, and they were, like, forgetting to go get people drinks and stuff. Like, we were distracting them from their jobs. It was actually really, it was a bad situation turned very, like, funny, because I'm the type of person that I can, like, look back and kind of, like, laugh at what happened, but
at the time it was very traumatic, but now we can reflect.
We reflect and we laugh about it. So, but, okay, so then here's what happens. So, they're like, okay, the flight is we're gonna start landing, and we were in their seat. And so she's like, you kind of have to go back to your seat. But she's like, do you want to bring the oxygen with you? And I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, I need it. And so she's like, all right. So it's Allison, then me, then behind me is...
No, you went first.
I went first.
Because we had established that you were going to take
the window
so you could have the... Yes.
Yeah, so imagine this train of me, Allison, and the lady holding the oxygen tank. Yes. Meanwhile, the whole plane
we also had to get a second one at this time. Like,
I ran out of oxygen from the first one, so they needed a second one. So... the whole plane throughout the whole flight has been, like, looking back. What is going on back there? Is she okay? There are lots of whispering, lots of, like, oh my god, is she okay? What's going on? Does she need help? Here's a pillow. Like, things going on. And so, lo and behold, I was about to show everybody what had been happening. I was back there the whole flight. Remember, this had started 30 minutes into the flight, and we were landing.
Like, and it was like a 3.5 hour flight.
Yeah, so
3 hours.
We were panicking for quite some time. So we walked back there, and... it was like in the movies when, like, the popular girl, like, walks through, like, the high school hallway. You know what I mean? She's like, ah. And, like, everyone, it's like in slow motion, and everyone's, like, looking at her. That was, like, exactly what was happening. Because you don't expect somebody to walk through the aisle of the plane, and you look up, and there's this girl with an oxygen mask. Obvious, like, here is the girl. That's the girl who's been, like, screaming and crying in the back. And I've got an oxygen tank. And the guy, there was, like, this older business guy who sat in the aisle seat. And so he looks up and probably, like, where have you guys been the whole flight? And so then I'm, like, trying not to look, because I don't want to, I'm just bringing all the attention to myself. Like, I was just trying not to look at anyone else. Just like, all right. And so she's trying to, like, hand me the oxygen tank, like, over this guy. And the guy is like, what did I miss? What is going on?
Yeah, and she's not being particularly, like, quiet about it.
No, she's like, all right.
Okay, so what we're going to do.
She's like, keep it in between your legs. So I was, like, holding the oxygen tank in between my legs, and I've got it. And I'm, like, just, like, looking out the window and, like, you know, trying not to bring any attention to myself. And people are like, what is going on? Okay, so unfortunately, at this point in the podcast, the audio stopped working / recording. Not quite sure exactly what happened. I did get a new microphone, and I'm still learning how to use it, so maybe a cord came unplugged. It doesn't matter. But I do want to summarize kind of the rest of what Allison and I talked about, because I do think it's extremely important that I mention it. The story's over, by the way. That was kind of the end of the story anyways. The plane landed, and I was just fine. And I told my mom everything, and we were like, haha, oh my god, this is so funny. And then we had, like, a 2-hour drive to my grandparents' house, and I slept the entire way. I like just knocked out. Wow, very burpy. So what I want to make sure everyone is aware of, what Allison and I talked about, is that we talked about the importance of communicating with your friends or loved ones or people around you what you or what they might need in situations like this, in situations where somebody might be feeling anxious, might be having a panic attack or some sort of mental health crisis. I think it's really important to, let's say if you're somebody who deals with anxiety, it doesn't have to be like mine. Maybe you just have anxiety. Maybe you have, maybe you're just as prone to panic attacks as me. Maybe not. But if you have friends or family members, and well, obviously people have friends and family members, but you know what I mean. I think when you're not in a state of anxiety or you are not anxious, those are the best moments to reach out and tell those people what you will need in situations like that. So I had a conversation with Allison a long time ago. I was just like, hey, look, I have really bad anxiety, and if I'm anxious, I need you to distract me. That's what I need. I need people to distract me, talk about random things. I don't need people being like, what do you need? What's wrong? That sort of stuff. I need people to distract me. Other people might need somebody to, just sing you a song. You might need somebody, maybe you need contact, maybe you need somebody to be giving you a hug or holding your hand or something like that. Or if like whatever you need for support, it is so important to tell people that. And so it was so nice that I had that conversation with Allison before, and she knew kind of what to do. She knew that I needed water, and she knew that I probably needed sugar, and she knew that she should just kind of stay calm and distract me, and that's exactly what she did. And I'm so thankful for Allison every day. I think about this plane ride a lot because in the moment it was pretty traumatic. But I've done a lot of processing of this, and I can look back on it with a smile on my face. But it was really traumatic, and Allison, I cannot thank for her enough for how she handled that, and just for being such an amazing friend. And poor thing had to like deal with her best friend like dying in the back of a plane, and was just trying to stay calm because she knew that if she freaked out, I would freak out more. Anyways, just Allison, I love you, and you know how much I love you, and everybody deserves a friend like Allison in their life. And I think it's also important to do the reverse of this. If maybe you don't deal with mental health issues. Well, everybody does, but maybe you have a friend who has proudly reached out to you, and they've told you that they have anxiety, or they get panic attacks, or they feel really anxious in certain situations. It's important maybe for you as the friend or as the loved one, sibling, parent, daughter, son, whatever, to reach out to them and ask them, hey, so if we're ever in a situation where maybe you're having an anxiety attack or you're having a panic attack or something like that, what would be most helpful for me to do? I think that's a better way to phrase it than what do you want me to do? Because for some reason, asking somebody what would be most helpful, what would make you more comfortable, those words for some reason are just a lot more comforting. I don't know. I would much rather somebody ask me like, what can I do to help you right now? Or what can I do that would make you feel more comfortable, instead of like, what do you want me to do? I don't know. It's just, they just feel a little bit different. I think we can all agree. But, again, if you have a friend or somebody you know that you're around a lot who struggles with similar situations, I think it's really important that you reach out to them and you ask them what they need. And so then that way, when you are in that situation, you're calm, they can trust you, and you can handle the situation appropriately, and they feel supported and they feel safe. And that was another thing, is because I was so open with, I felt comfortable enough earlier in our relationship to open up to Allison about all my struggles. Then when I was in this situation, I felt very safe with Allison there. It was very comforting that she was there. I wasn't like, oh my God, like she doesn't know that like this happens to me. Like, I don't know if she already mentioned it or she mentioned it in this part that wasn't recording, but Allison had never been around me when I had been having a panic attack before, despite us being friends for like 3-4 years at this point. But she knew that this happened, and so by her knowing that this happened and kind of me explaining to her what would happen in a situation like this, it didn't like shock her, at least not that I know of. But that's kind of that. I think it's really important to make sure you're communicating with friends and family on what's most helpful to you and what would be most helpful to them. And that way too, even if you sit down and kind of assess with yourself, all right, so if I'm in a situation where I'm having a panic attack, what would I want people to do? Like, asking people for help, like, what am I asking them to do? And for me, I know that I usually need somebody to go get my water, and I just need them to be with me and just sitting with me and talking with me. And so then that way, that once I establish that and realize that that's what I need, then I feel so much more comfortable reaching out for help, even if I'm around people that I don't really know. Especially like when I was in high school, there were a lot of times where maybe I was in dance, or maybe I was in, maybe I was in a class with, I didn't have like a BFF with me. Okay. I just kind of knew people in the class, and they were like, hey, like, are you okay? Like, what's going on? And it was just kind of like, I knew that my go-to answer was just like, I need you to get my water. Let's just go sit out in the hallway. Like, I felt like I had a game plan for myself and for other people to help me. So again, my game plan is going to look very different than everybody else's game plan. Every single person has a different game plan for anxiety and panic attacks. I'm definitely not saying what I do is what you should do or what you need. Everybody needs something different. Okay. So, I just think that's an important note to end this on. I really appreciate, you all for listening. And I really thank you, Allison, for coming on the podcast. It was so much fun. I hadn't really done, anything quite social like that in such a long time. And it was really great to go over there and hang out with Allison and just have a little bit more sense of normality. It was really nice. And Allison doesn't have any social media, otherwise I would plug all of her social media right now, but I do just want to plug Allison as a person. Just 10 out of 10 would recommend being best friends with Allison. So yeah, expect her on more podcast episodes. I had such a fun time. I hope you had a fun time listening. I love you. Don't forget to go leave a review or leave a comment if you're watching on YouTube. Share your fun fact, and have an amazing week. And I love you. And that's it. Okay, bye.